Umawathy Techanamurthy, and you can call me Dr. Uma, and I'm the Senior Assistant Director here at the Instructional and Digital Learning Division, Department of Polytechnic and Community College Education, Ministry of Higher Education of Malaysia. Right. Today, we will be presenting on how to make teaching work, effective lesson planning. Just a little housekeeping before we get started. If you have any questions, or if I may ask you questions during the presentation, please type them into the question box in your WebEx control panel, and I'll bring them up during the presentation. And we will also have time for questions at the end. Now, together with me, I have two lecturers from Polytechnic Ibrahim Sultan. We have Puan Azeelia and Puan Adilah. Okay, so BIPD, the Instructional and Digital Learning Division, we have been conducting workshops on designing lessons using flipped classroom. So Puan Noor Azeelia and Puan Adilah are participants from the second cohort. So it's really an honor for me to bring them aboard to share how do they go about their lesson planning. So in this session, I'll be sharing with you the framework that we use for lesson planning, and also taking into account the sharings from the earlier sessions from John and Associate Professor Dr. Dorothy. I think in this session, you'll be able to see it coming together. Okay, you'll be able to see how the social constructivist theory is being used to design an online flip lesson. Okay, so before we go further, please let me introduce Puan Azeelia, a lecturer from the Language Unit, General Studies Department from Polytechnic Ibrahim Sultan, and she's been teaching for 9 years. While Puan Adilah is a lecturer from Pendidikan Islam and Moral Unit from the same department, and she's been teaching for 5 years. Now, so I'll be presenting the flipped classroom for Polytechnic and Community Colleges framework, which is also part of my PhD work a few years ago, but I have updated the content to actually match the current pandemic. Okay, on how to actually do a full online flipped classroom framework. And Puan Azeelia and Puan Adilah will walk through with you how they have designed their lessons. Bear in mind that I've updated the framework a little bit, but you'll be able to see it all coming together when you see Puan Azeelia and Puan Adilah presenting a lesson from their own class. All right, so let me start. Are you all able to see my screen? Okay. So what is the first thing that comes to your mind when I say lesson plan? Azeelia, please share with me what's the first thing that came to you when I mentioned lesson plan during our previous workshops?
I was thinking I just need to have a plan, because if I don't have a plan, then that means because I have to consider myself as a captain. So I have my students as my crew. So if I don't have a plan, then probably my ship will sink. So that's how I think about it, really. Yeah.
Puan Adilah, apa pendapat? What is the first thing bila puan dengar perkataan lesson plan tu sewaktu bengkel ya? What's the first thing that came to your mind, Puan Adilah?
Satu bentuk dokumen yang ada perancangan yang apa yang kita nak mengajar pada hari itu.
Okay. So, apakah beza sebelum anda tahu tentang cara, design lesson plan dengan sistematik dengan kaedah yang anda gunakan sebelum ini? Azeelia, what was it like, before?
What was it like? Okay, completely different. I would say perhaps before it was lacking a few things because I find my students. This is in my case. So I find my students. They're sort of having a hard time to understand the complex concept of resume writing. And I thought, okay, maybe I should do something to increase their engagement. Maybe I need to figure out some digital tools to somewhat enrich their learning experiences.
Okay, all right. Puan Adilah pula?
Okay, sebelum ni saya faham lesson plan ataupun rancangan mengajar ni hanya digunakan semasa dalam kelas, semasa kelas. Tapi lepas ikuti bengkel bersama Dr. Omar, saya faham yang mana lesson plan ini bukan hanya sekadar semasa kelas tapi mesti meliputi sebelum, semasa dan juga selepas kelas. Di antara ketiga-tiga itu perlu ada link yang bersangkutan di antara.
Ya, betul. So, hari ini kita akan lihat bagaimana kita plan apa yang perlu dilakukan sebelum kelas, semasa kelas dengan selepas kelas. Okay? Right. Thank you. Okay, so how to plan well when teaching. So over the past 2 days of webinars, I think a very critical point we saw was how passionate an educator is to ensure, being able to teach online. And then also how the use of not only an LMS, like in our case, a CDOS or Google Classroom, but also a communication platform for us to communicate. Like John mentioned, the use of an application called Remind, whereas in our context, Telegram and WhatsApp sort of helps because of course we have our students' numbers. Okay, so being a passionate educator, using besides an LMS, using a communication platform, we also have the task of preparing content, curating content, choosing which are the best content for the students, and also being able to create. So what you see on your screen is actually a bunch of apps that is actually designed with very low learning curve, and you're able to actually prepare the materials fast, and we'll go through this later. Okay, so in a flipped classroom, I think you need to understand that you can't really you got to go organized, you got to plan, you can't just wing it, they say. Kalau dalam kelas bersemuka, kita mungkin boleh di sana dan kita boleh tengok reaksi pelajar, dan kita boleh ikut keadaan, dan kita boleh mengajar mengikut pengalaman kita. Tapi dalam kelas dalam talian, situasi dia sangat berbeza. So plan, PLAN is the key here. Okay, so get organized, go and plan well, as what Puan Azeelia just now mentioned. Okay, now plan as a team, get a teaching buddy. Azeelia, what do you think of this?
I think it's good to plan as a team because you get ideas on like I said, to enrich students' learning experiences, because when you collaborate with your team, with your colleagues, fellow lecturers, you can somewhat synthesize those synthesize those tools, the capabilities, and find ways how you can use a tool. Okay. Perhaps maybe a certain tool might be used in a certain way, but others might use it in a different way. So when we plan as a team, so you get all these ideas, and at the end of the day, you'll have a list of say maybe 20 unique ways to use just a Padlet, so yeah, I think it's really crucial to plan as a team when it comes to lesson planning.
Okay, so another example is maybe you've been just given that subject this semester. So if you've been just given this subject this semester, so at least there's someone that you can refer to who will be able to give you more, extra information. Okay. Besides that, plan for misconceptions. I think if you remember what John Bergman mentioned, give support. Your students need a lot of support during the session. So he even suggested embedding audio files into worksheets. He also suggested, if let's say your students have low bandwidth, so how are you going to create that support? For example, a support would be making short support videos short video clips to address common misconceptions. So embedding files. Contohnya, hey guys, I know you're going to struggle with this content. Yeah. Okay, I know you guys are going to struggle with this because everyone does. So don't forget to look out for this. So embedding these kind of audio clips into the task actually gives students a lot of support for them to do their individual tasks. Okay, so for team planning, you know, if you're new to that subject matter, link to another educator who knows their stuff and then plan. Okay, all right. So yeah, these are some of the apps that you may use, which I will discuss later. All right. So plan tasks. Also plan. I think John and even Associate Professor Dr. Dorothy mentioned plan your tasks. What happens in a group space? Okay. So this icon here shows a discussion forum, and you know it looks like a Padlet, but yeah, this is how you get the discussion. And she also mentioned on how educators become the moderators and what's our role, yeah, our online presence here. And here, this icon shows the breakout rooms. So when you're doing live teaching, get students to do work in groups and, you know, in smaller groups, let's say groups of 3s and 4s. Yeah, so this is another way. And also, for example, using Padlet. Okay, an individual space, maybe you can get students to create their own content. You know, you can ask them to get them to create their own Google Slides, get them to create their own Excel sheets, or you know, their own docs and stuff. Okay, so again, this is just some input from our previous speakers. Set up ahead of time. They also mentioned about student-generated content. Establishing the learning communities, you know, example in Microsoft Teams, how do you establish the learning communities, create channels, okay? Sequencing, arrange your tasks from simple to complex. Chunking, I remember 2 speakers mentioned the longest video a student might have patience is only 5 minutes, but why not make shorter videos, the most 3 minutes, yeah, and that would help for us to actually plan our lessons. Also, have clear expectations and tell students how to achieve the expectation. And this, I may suggest, is during the orientation session, which is the first session you have with them. Imagine they're going to be seeing students in semester 2 and semester 3 who semester 1 students who we have not met them face to face yet. So we'll need this orientation session, maybe 1 or 2 hours for us to explain, you know, how this online session is going to be conducted during the pandemic, and have clear expectations like how many hours do you come online? When do you contact me? When is my online office hours? So these are important things that were mentioned by our speakers before this, okay? So also establish the online learning behavior, the do's and the don'ts, you know, when do we mute everyone? If you have questions, hands up. What happens? How do you behave in a chat, okay? Can you like scribble on the screen? Because we have students who would like to try the Microsoft Teams, for example, the annotation function, okay? All right, also a good webcam, strong internet, good mic, and we also heard from Prof. Karim yesterday on how to actually set up your basic home studio with things that he actually purchased from Shopee for very reasonably priced items, okay? All right, so now lesson plan is actually, if it's just in a one sentence, shows how each activity or task relates to the objectives, how much time is planned for each activity, and how the activities will flow together using suitable resources or media. And as I mentioned just now, you'll be able to have a look at this when Azeelia and Adilah share their lesson plan. Okay, so these are the steps here. First, identify the different phases of instruction, okay, which I'll be covering in a while. Okay. Next, identify the learning objectives. If you remember, John mentioned in the Bloom's taxonomy, the easier stuff is done before class during the asynchronous, and the harder stuff are done during the live teaching session where we get the face-to-face, the online face-to-face section. Also identify which are the important concepts, identify the important misconceptions or the most frequently asked questions in each topic. Next, plan. Sequence the lesson in an engaging manner. And this is where, Associate Professor Dr. Dorothy mentioned how she would actually give them Mentimeters, polls, padded activities every 5 to 10 minutes. So after finishing a subtopic, this is just to keep the students engaged. And even John mentioned how he actually does this brain break. Okay, curate. So, talking about curating, we only want, there are a lot of materials out there, but we're looking out for the best material for students and put them into place. And this is where the LMS comes in. So, we arrange the materials. Not only lecturers have to curate materials, students as well, please get them to also curate suitable materials which may be relevant to them. Yeah, as there may be students who they are exposed to different techniques, so there's no one way of doing a certain procedure, for example. So let them share different materials, and so that they will also be able to learn how to evaluate material, whether it's in good quality, or is it of poor quality or mediocre quality. Besides curating, gather also real-world activities, procedural tasks, problem-solving scenarios from experts. So this is something that I really I always mention this in my workshop. Try to get engaged with someone in the industry. After all, TVET students are preparing. We are preparing TVET students for the world of work. So that's the best place to actually get real-world activities or procedural tasks and problem-solving scenarios are that people from the industry. So the industry might, be able to share with us real artifacts. So, for example, in my PhD thesis, I managed to get, videos shot at, 5-star hotels, for example. Also, how the forms are used, in a work process. So try to engage with not only subject matter experts, but also industrial experts to bridge the gap between academia and industry. Next, how do we assess student understanding? We also need to plan how to assess student understanding. Okay, create a realistic timeline. Okay, this is something that I would say students are not only taking our subjects; they also have other subjects to think about. So try to give them realistic timelines. So, for example, tasks that can be covered can be completed within 20 minutes, or tasks that inform them. Okay, this task you'll probably need 20 minutes for this maybe, and this one you'll need to spend more time for this, for example. So articulate your expectations clearly and also be realistic, especially during challenging times like this. Finally, get your students to reflect. I think both Associate Professor Dr. Dorothy and John mentioned how important is it to get students to reflect. So usually what I advise my participants during workshop is to prepare exit tickets, or just 1 or 2 questions before, just to close the lesson. Also, get students to identify what is the muddiest point, or which is the one that they had trouble understanding at the end of the class. Also, get them to ask them, what is the most important thing that you all learned today, or what is the most challenging thing and why was it challenging. Also test them a little bit on the concepts that you had covered. So I think both the speakers mentioned how important reflection is. So yeah. All right, so this is a very general overview of how the lesson plans are going to be structured. All right, so we did see the Bloom's taxonomy, and if you see here, the remember and understand is where the easy stuff are usually taught. And if you see the words in blue, these are the verbs that we can use when we're designing our lesson plan. So the easy stuff, remember and understand, is usually done before students come to our face-to-face class. And as John said, do not waste your time giving lectures during the face-to-face sessions. Give them to do the easy stuff before they start coming for your class. So these are the verbs that you may want to use. And then the hard stuff, the apply, the analyze, the evaluate, and the create. So that's where we get to do that with them. Okay. Now, if you are asking me about how about engineering courses, how do we arrange? So I managed to find this from literature, and it says it's actually an alternative to Bloom's taxonomy for engineering courses. And you can see, define is actually state the definition of the concept in qualitative or quantitative terms. Okay, I do not want to go very detailed in this, but feel free to actually look up this taxonomy, the Faisal-Schmidt's technical taxonomy, which shows the increased level of sophistication, yeah, that we can use when we are designing lessons for engineering courses. All right, now this is the different phases of instruction I was telling you about. So before class, if you see this image here, you can see all those things. Okay, so actually, because it's about activation, so activation is actually the process of recalling or relating knowledge of past experiences. So this is what you do first when you start your lesson, and this can be done using images, videos, polls or surveys using word cloud. So you can see here I've given poll everywhere, Mentimeter, Jamboard. Okay, it's an interactive whiteboard, and you can see how the word cloud has can be used, okay, for students to share with us. Okay, now after activation before class is the second phase of instruction, which is demonstration. Okay, so as I said, this is done before they come and meet us, before they meet us online during a synchronous session. So get them to watch presentation videos, instructional videos, get them to read, get them to listen to audio clips. So see, videos, you can actually just curate videos which are already available. So John mentioned about Khan Academy. He also mentioned about the Crash Course channel, which has some really interesting videos, and of course, YouTube. Okay, so if you were to actually record your lectures, you may use Loom, Screencast-O-Matic, and these apps. I think next week we'll be covering these apps in our series of webinars, where you learn how to actually record your own screen to create your own short instructional videos. Okay, so this is converting PowerPoints to Google Slides. Yeah. What else can we do? Okay, these are the assigned reading, yeah, and audio clips. Okay, so this is demonstration. Now, the final phase is before class is the application. So this is where instead of getting students to just watch, why not injecting questions here? So this is called an interactive video quiz. So it's not just watching, but you may add audio clips, narrations. You may add images into the video. You may actually even add questions, multiple choice, open-ended questions. So the app which I always suggest and which I personally use and even my participants in the workshop use is Edpuzzle. So instead of an existing video, you can actually repurpose your video to suit your context. You can even trim the video to the length that you need. And if you create your own video, your own screencast, you may upload that screencast and actually develop, you can actually insert questions. So this is one way of you creating your own content. And again, this is reusable. Okay, so that's using Edpuzzle. Okay. Right, next. Okay, seem to have a technical problem here. Okay, I'm sorry, just give me a few minutes. I'll just call the technical person. I'm unable to apologize. I'm unable to use the mouse. Can't use the mouse. Okay, all right, thank you. All right, so there's also, you can also use Kahoot. You may also use quizzes, and and Google Forms as well. Okay, so this is how you can structure the flow of your before class. All right, after this is the during class, during the live teaching session. So using CDOS, you can use the big blue button feature, or for polytechnics, and for community colleges, you can use Microsoft Teams and Google Meet. Okay, so again, activation. So first thing is to check in on students. Okay, so you may use Poll Everywhere, Mentimeter. You may use Padlet. You may also use Edpuzzle. Okay, to review before class tasks. So you may use Kahoot, quizzes, Google Forms. How about revising previous lessons? If you have the time, you can actually create your own content based on students' performance and their before class task, and you may upload it on YouTube and you may share it. Okay, so create a feedback video, and then also show students their progress, show them the leaderboard, show them this achievement chart. For example, tell your students, hey, you were the first one to answer this question, or you did, you answered, in the shortest period of time. These are good ways for us to actually start our during our live teaching sessions. Okay, this is the activation part. Next, during demonstration, you may get them to watch instructional videos or show them problem-solving steps to solve problems. Okay, so again, you may do it on screencasts. Okay, you may using Jamboard. Okay, and then application. Get students to discuss in groups. Get them to solve problems. The types of problems that you may use is problem caused by mistakes. Get them to troubleshoot problems. So this can be done using Padlet, breaking them into breakout rooms in your group space. Okay, get them to create their own videos. Again, we can also use worksheets. All right. So but that's for the theoretical class. But how about the hands-on classes? Okay. Again, you may do the same. Let's say it's performed on Big Blue Button or Microsoft Teams on Google Meet. Check in with your students. Use Poll Everywhere, Mentimeter, Kahoot, quizzes. Similarly, Google Forms, Edpuzzle. Tell them, show them that, they have actually come prepared. Give encouragement. Again, as Dr. Dorothy mentioned, motivate your students to come prepared for your class. So this is a way. Show them the leaderboard. Show them their scores. Okay, for hands-on classes, show them demonstration of hands-on practicum tasks. Get them, show the models of good examples on the not so good examples, the good practices, the bad practices. What is the problem-solving process that goes through, that you go through when you're doing this hands-on task? This is called modeling. Okay, again, this can be done using these apps. You can record them, you can create your own videos. Yeah, Jamboard and stuff. Okay, application. When you're doing hands-on stuff, again, small group discussion, but this time the problems are problems caused by the changes in situation. So get them to make decisions on this. Okay. Right. So again, establish the group space and what they need to do. Okay. You can use a voice thread. You can use Flipgrid. So these are the things that you can do in the group space and in your individual space. All right. Next, after class, and this can be done asynchronously. So get them to actually solve more advanced problems, get them to design stuff. Remember, both our speakers were mentioning about using Canva, or give them follow-up activities to explore. Either get them to read more or get them to watch other related videos get them to watch videos from different video repositories such as Khan Academy and Crash Course, or get them to watch something from TED Talks and get some input from there. Get them to, number fill. Yeah, we have so many here. Okay. Articulation, group presentation. So this is where students actually asynchronously actually prepare for a group presentation. So get them to create their own content. Get them to do the screencasting of themselves presenting certain tasks. Get them to create their own videos using Filmora. For students, it's they would actually pick up these tools very fast. Get them to upload presentation slides on Google Slides, for example. Get them to demonstrate how they solve certain problems on Jamboard and export them onto the learning management system. Also, finally, reflection. Get them to complete reflective assessments to reflect on what they have learned through reading materials, watching videos, reading references, and the experiences that they have gained throughout the lesson. Okay, if it's a group space, you want them to reflect in a group space, use Padlet. Get them to create videos on VoiceThread, on Flipgrid. And if it's individual, get them to do on Jamboard. Get them to create their own videos. Get them to also reflect on audio. Okay, so students like multimodal reflection. Students do not really like to write their reflections. Maybe they're just more comfortable using video and audio. Okay, so get them to do different way of reflection. Again, you can also reflect using Google Docs. You may also use Mentimeter. It's really up to you. Okay, right. Now, another important segment when you're doing conducting lessons online is to give the brain break. Okay, so you can get your students to dance the chicken dance. Okay, or get them to stand up, sit down. Get them physical, because you can't expect students to keep quiet and watch a lecture for 1 hour plus. So get them to stand up, sit down, and get them physical, okay? But all right, so back to the participants. Can you please list 3 reflective prompts that you would use after completing your lessons, okay? So I'll have a look at the chat now for your answers. Okay. Anyone with 3 reflective prompts that you would use? Please share. Okay, so I've already taken, okay, so maybe I will just share. So you can see the reflective prompts being shared by Azeelia. So Azeelia and Puan Adilah, now it's over to you to share your lesson plan. So I have here, so Azeelia, over to you, and Puan Adilah, over to you.
Okay. Doctor, can you hear me?
Yes, clear.
Yes. Okay. All right. Very sorry about the echo. All right. So I hope you can hear me clearly this time. Okay. So I'm just going to go ahead with the lesson plan template. So what you can see on the screen, okay, these are based on my personal, I would say, past observation. Okay, when I observe my students, this is what I notice. Okay, so I'll just run through with you. Okay, so number one, my students tend to overlook the importance of understanding and analyzing the content of job advertisement. Okay, a little introduction for you. I will be sharing the input with regards to one of our topics in DUE 5012, one of the courses. So one of the topics is job hunting mechanics. Okay, and for this particular lesson plan, I would like to plan a lesson particularly for analyzing and synthesizing a job advertisement. Okay, because I think prior to writing your resume, you need to understand the needs of and expectation of the company. Okay, so that's why I think it's best that I also focus on this rather than focus too much on the resume template. Okay, that yes, okay, but first things first, do they understand the company's lingo? So how do they even begin writing the resume? Okay, so number two, my students face difficulties to understand English grammar rules and particularly the use of verbs. Okay, and I like to say it as power verbs because as we know it, resume is a tool, a sales tool, okay, for you to get employed, right? So instead of using just a plain verb, or you might want to call it a weak verb, you might want to use power verbs. Okay, and also of course using accurate tenses, adjectives. All right, to do what? To describe your students' relevant experiences and achievements. Okay, and also number three. I want to increase students' engagement because they don't seem to know how to establish the connection between the keywords emphasized in job advertisement or job postings, and basically the accurate vocabulary to describe their strength, okay, in relation to their skills, experiences, and achievements. And of course, their task results. Okay, and lastly is I noticed that my students experience difficulties to understand the difference between the format of a resume appropriate for their current role as a student pursuing diploma. That means in this case, I put in bracket internship application, and also future position. So once they graduate, so what kind of resume they should produce. Okay, All right, so next slide. Okay. So here is a bit about the synopsis. Okay, so I simply highlighted in blue. I just want you to let you know that this is what I'll be covering. It is part of the syllabus. Yeah. Okay. So next. Okay, so also this is the course learning outcome. All right. So again, this is a personalized lesson plan. As it is, we have our own lesson plan that we put out in our FRP. Okay. So extending from that lesson plan, okay, the main lesson, I call it as a main lesson plan. This lesson plan is my personalized lesson plan, meaning, I mean, just imagine you know what you are going to teach that day, okay? Let's say within the 2 hours, you know what to teach because you have your lesson plan. You have your specific objective and everything. So then what next? Okay, so how do you deliver your content? What digital tools you would use? Is it appropriate? So those kind of planning, I think it's really important for us to have this, I would say, yeah, this lesson plan template. I think it's good. Okay, all right, so next, okay. So this is what I planned before class. So I want my students to be able to recognize the variety of resume format and its content, because you might be surprised. There are students who don't even know I mean, have not seen a resume before. They might have heard the word resume or CV, but they don't really know what the content is all about. And also, I want the students to be able to maybe perhaps identify some plausible errors contained in the resumes, right? Just to sort of, maybe they have prior knowledge on this, okay? Maybe they have seen it on Facebook, social media, and all that. Okay, and
So I
during the class, so we get into the real deal here. I hope that my students will also be able to sort of classify job titles by its relevant and prospective employees' attributes and personal traits. Okay, so perhaps maybe by looking at the job titles, they could sort of guess, you know, what kind of personal trait they should possess. See, all right. Second, distinguish job responsibilities from job requirements. Okay, so they need to understand that in order for them to get employed, so they have this requirement that they have to fulfill, or the criteria. Okay, and as for job responsibility, it's completely different. So I want them to be able to know the difference between the two. And the third one, I hope that my students could also be able to compare relevant adjectives, power verbs with advertised position, because when you typically companies, they will have all these keywords in their job advertisements or job postings. So we want to pick out all those verbs, all those key phrases, key words, so that we can sort of match it with our resumes. See, so we want to put that in. Okay, and of course the practical part. I want my students to be able to synthesize relevant information for resume using appropriate adjectives and pronouns. So these two are, I would say, if my students could sort of master this, I think that would be great. Okay, so next.
So sorry to interrupt, but yeah, so this is an example, dear participants. So this is an example of how you can actually use the Bloom's taxonomy. So remember, before class, the asynchronous session, you can use the lower levels of Bloom. So understand, remember. So the verbs to use are recognize and identify. Whereas you see, she has given here the higher level of Bloom's taxonomy for classify, distinguish, compare, synthesize. Okay, all right. So we will go to the next slide. Okay, yeah. So
Okay.
sorry to interrupt, but this is how she's going to. Azeelia will be sharing how she would do according to the different phases of instruction. Over to you, Azeelia.
Okay, right. I'm going to go very fast with this because of the time. Okay, so as Dr. Umar was saying, there are basically three phases, okay, before you begin your class. Okay, so because I think the advantage of having online learning or remote learning, if you want to call it, okay, you can actually approach your students before they meet you online. Let's say, okay, for example, you want to meet them for an hour on Microsoft Teams, for example, okay. So prior to meeting you online, perhaps you want them to have some initial understanding of what is a resume, you know, maybe some background knowledge, okay. So this is what you do. So activation is like a hook. Okay, so I usually would name my activities. In this case, I plan to do it like this. So I call it resume gone wrong. Okay, so I would prepare a few guiding questions. So my lesson would be framed within this essential question. So what is a resume? Okay, so, oh yes, if you look at your screen, this is how it looks like, the overview. So I screen record this, okay, just using PowerPoint, okay. Right, so here I would like the students to, I would like to elicit students' prior knowledge on what not to do when writing a resume. Okay, so the rest we have other guiding questions. Okay, okay, I would like to focus on the tools that you can use to engage their um, engagement. Okay, sorry, to engage them. Okay, so these are some of the tools. So I would use Jamboard. Okay, Jamboard, as you know it, is free. I'm all out for free apps actually. So Jamboard is free. It's under Google. You can simply go to Google Drive and you will see there's an icon, Jamboard. It's actually, you can ask them to just sort of put a sticky note there, okay? Just give the idea on what is a resume. Also, I would want to play a video for them, okay? So all of this video, I will choose one. Perhaps I'll choose one and I'll give it to them and I want them to watch. So perhaps I would use either play pause it or add puzzle. So in this case, I think maybe I'll go with add puzzle because it's free, I believe. Okay, so and then with that, the activity, okay, students will be asked to watch the video and students need to respond real time on add puzzle. The best thing about add puzzle is that it's very interactive. Okay, you can always embed question within the video. Okay, and then meaning the students won't have the chance to skip the video. So they will have to answer the question, okay? And then they will further increase their understanding by posting their opinions on Jamboard, okay? And if you notice, number 4, I have this hint answer the essential question. So of course you want to give them some hints for them, okay? Some kind of direction, so at least they get some ideas, okay? Because this is done before meeting you online, I would give them this perhaps on CDOS, okay, in a form of, I would call this as, if you notice there, I would package all these links in Google Slides, okay, and I would use Screencastify to explain the lesson. So again, hyperdocs, meaning it's a digital lesson, okay. Mean you have all the links but you have the flow, meaning what do they have to do first, second and third, and then you embed the links for them to sort of participate. Okay, so I call that Google Slides Hyperdoc. You can go and Google on Hyperdocs. Very interesting concept. Okay, and you can use Screencastify. Again, Screencastify is limited to just 5 minutes. If I'm not mistaken, 5 minutes per video, free, unlimited videos.
Yeah,
But it's
I
very
think
easy
5 minutes is also
access.
enough. Remember, we mentioned about
These
the
questions.
concept of
Okay,
chunking the
and Screencastify
materials.
is screen recording only for Google. Okay. All right. So I think we can go. Basically, this is asynchronous, not real time. Okay. So next. Okay. The second phase is demonstration. So this is the overview. Okay. So you would notice the application that I plan to use. So I think you heard about Padlet early on by Dr. Dorothy. And here, I'm not sure whether you have heard about Wakelet. So again, I'm all for free apps. So well, sadly, Padlet is no longer free, but you can still use their free plan. So, you know, you have to think about this. Okay, when you consider using these digital tools with your student, you might want to think about how to what extent that they are free. Okay, so if they are only free and only you can benefit and not your students, I don't really suggest that for you to use with your students, because you want to be able to use the one of the most important feature in digital. So you have to think about the collaborative feature. So you and your students can use it. So in this case, Padlet is fine, okay? But Wakelet is 100% free from Microsoft. Okay, so let me just explain a little bit about, so next slide, okay? Okay, the activity is called the resume, the real deal. So when you name your activity, I think it's fun. I think it's fun because then it will sort of, you know, spark the curiosity among students. Okay, in this case, so early on, I gave them a video just to like a hook. Okay, so now I give them real samples of resume containing mistakes or errors. Okay, now if you have your samples from previous students, I think you can use that. Okay, as part of your literature. All right. So the essential question here is, what are the errors found in the resumes? So I'm going to compile all of this in Wakelet. So later on, maybe you can explore Wakelets. It's, I would say, very intuitive. If you have used Pinterest before, okay, Wakelet is, I would say, more robust for our use. You can collect or maybe bookmark YouTube videos, documents, basically just about anything, links, okay, into one place, one hub. Okay, so you, and the best thing about Wakelet, like I said, you need to make sure that the tool has the capability to collaborate. So you can use Wakelet to collaborate with your students. Okay. And the next thing is, after they review the samples, I want them to do something to prepare. I would prepare a graphic organizer or note taking on Padlet. So I would say another suggestion is that whenever you lead them to Padlet, okay, because it's blank, right? So you want to give them like a template, like a constraint, so maybe they can, like a worksheet, yes, okay, so that they don't just type out anything, so they have some guiding question there. Okay, all right, so this is again, I will put it in my Google Slide Hyperdoc. Okay, so next one, the last phase application before class. Okay, so here I would prepare some question just to test them. Okay, just for fun, really. I would use quizzes. I think most of you would have used quizzes, and also Kahoot. And the best thing about Kahoot is now, I think, if you notice, they have made it self-paced quiz. Okay, so you can embed these links into your CDOS. Okay, so you can plan it out. Usually we play Kahoot real time, right? Okay, all right. So I think we go into the real deal here. Okay, so hold on. Okay, right. Okay, so this is during the class. Okay, yes, correct, during the class. So you have planned this out. Okay, now you have to consider that getting them online is also a challenge. All right, because of the internet and everything, device. So perhaps the moment you get to meet them online, you want to make sure that their learning experience is meaningful and you have planned things out. Okay, so in this case, I have named the activity as Sherlock Resume. Yes, because because I love Sherlock Holmes. So again, I would prepare several still images, short clips, all in Wakelet. Okay. And maybe I would use Mentimeter. I think the Toma has mentioned it. Okay, really interesting. And Mentimeter, they do have premium feature, but you can still make use of their free plan. So still good. Okay, still good. All right, so here I plan to meet them Microsoft Teams and probably or WebEx. Then I would use Mentimeter and Wakelet. Okay. I would want the students to work with their partner and try to describe the occupation career with its personality traits. Okay, for example, always give them example. Okay, an engineer should possess a trait of being a meticulous individual. Right, so you can actually do a lot of things synchronously actually. Okay, using Microsoft Teams, you can actually create channels, right? I have yet to use with my students, but I can see the capabilities. All right, so you can create channel and you can actually have them sort of work with the partner or team. Okay, so next one. Okay, demonstration phase. All right, I name this activity as what's puzzling you. Okay, so in this case, so that's the overview. Okay. All right. I would compile several real job advertisement. I would simply take from jobstreet.com. Okay. And I would prepare two separate sections of job posting, job responsibility, and job requirements. All right. So essential question here, is there a difference between job responsibility section and job requirement section? Okay. If you notice, I am planning to use Google Slides. I love Google, okay, because they are very much integrated. Uh, and I hope I can use Pear Deck here, okay. So later on when you explore Pear Deck, it's really interesting. But then again, you can make use of it. I mean, the free plan. But if you can use the premium feature will be better because they have teacher dashboard. But then again, the free tools are still interactive enough to like here I put it as I would like to embed questions. Okay. Paradag is an extension. So if you're using Google Chrome, particularly, you can play around with their extension. Okay, like Screencastify, just now screen recording, you can add it as an extension, Paradag as an extension. Okay, so when you have extension, you don't necessarily have to download or install into your computer. Okay, all you have to have is just internet. Okay. So next, the third, okay, to name, I would name this activity as well. That's me. Okay. Okay, hold on. Okay. So I would assign my students with two paper tags. So initially I wanted to do this in class face-to-face, but because of our current situation, I had to convert this into, I still want them to do the same activity, but perhaps different way of doing it. Okay, so here, such a question is there a relationship between using both verb and adjective to describe one's acquired skill and achievement? Okay, again, I would create a template on Padlet. This time around, okay, I would use Flipgrid. Okay, Flipgrid. Flipgrid is also by Microsoft, 100% free. Unlimited videos, very collaborative. Okay, so usually we use Flipgrid for asynchronous teaching or learning. Okay, so Flipgrid is basically video-based, a video response. Okay, so what I want them to do is to I would give them a list of adjectives and verbs on CDOS. I would still use CDOS. Okay, Flipgrid can be embedded in CDOS. But you need to be careful with the code and everything. But it can be done. there's one feature that's called external tool, if I'm not mistaken, or you can just simply give them a flip grid code. Okay, all right. So then I want them to basically video record themselves for 5 minutes, okay, with the adjective and verb that they have chosen. And later on, they can comment each other on Flipgrid. Okay, so their peers can comment each other. Okay, so next is the integration phase. Okay, the next resume warrior. Okay, this one is done synchronously. I can still use Padlet and also Microsoft Teams. And the essential question would be, why is it important to articulate your strength by describing your skills and achievement? Okay, this is quite tricky actually. When you talk about resume writing, they all know they have to talk about their strength and never weakness. Okay, but the thing is, you need to describe your skills and achievement. What have you achieved? So in this case, they will need to know how to use power verbs. Okay, all right. So next is, sorry, where am I? Okay. Right, this is during class. Okay, so I'm just going to go very fast. Okay, so I named the activity what's trending. Okay, what are some of the current buzzwords? So I think it's important for the students to know what are the buzzwords. Okay, so I have listed a few there because oh yeah, I forgot. I planned this lesson for my mechanical engineering students. Okay, so I think it's good if I can just insert all this. So I have that industrial automation, 3D printers, all this very general, okay? And collection of screenshots, headlines, and I put everything in Wakelet. And I would use Coggle. Coggle is actually a mind map, okay? Also very collaborative, okay? So next is, okay. Can we go to the next slide?
Sorry.
Okay. Yes. Okay. Now I name this activity as who are your engineering heroes? Okay. So perhaps they can identify some salient attributes, traits that these prominent figures possess to achieve their global success. So I have here a few people I think you might know. Elon Musk, okay, Tim Cook, Jeff Bezos, James Dyson, okay? And the tool that I'm going to use for this is Bunsy. Okay, Bunsy is, again, they do have premium feature, but the free plan is not
Good
bad.
enough.
Okay, and Bunsy is actually a creation tool. You can create, it's almost like creating your presentation, but interactive, just like Pear Deck. Pear Deck is suitable for presentation as well, but they do come with premium features. So but it's fine. The free plan is the features on free plan are still I would say interactive enough for your students. Okay, so I want the students to gather 5 adjectives. Okay, so these are the answer here. I would say hints. Hints. Okay, all right. Next, application phase. Okay, read between the lines, mister. The essential question here, what items, keyword, key phrases to look up for in a job advertisement? Okay, so I would use genuinely. Okay, I wasn't a fan of genuinely because most of their features are paid. So I thought, okay, you know what, never mind. But then recently, they made a lot of their features free. Okay, again, this is a creation tool site, just like Pear Deck, just like Google Slides, just like Bunsy. Okay, so if you don't want to use Google Slide or PowerPoint, you can go for Genially. So I'm choosing corkboard template, very collaborative. Okay, so I want the students to collaborate and sort of draft an outline or a skeletal form of a job posting. All right, I want them to assume the role as company's representative. So if they're the ones who would recruit other people, what kind of ideal candidates they would go for? So I think it's interesting. Okay. All right, moving on to the integration phase. Okay, you're a match. Do you have what it takes to be an exceptional intern? Okay, so usually they would give me, yes, I am, I'm the one. Okay, see what you've got. Okay, so now do not deny this powerful tool, Canva. Okay, as we know it, Canva, they do have premium features, but the free features are absolute wonderful. Okay, so you can still use it. So I want them to create a poster using Canva. And Canva, very collaborative, right? You can always invite them to edit the posters or that illustrations. Okay, so yes, again, this can be done asynchronously, okay, but also the presentation I want them to present. So again, you can set a time when you want to meet them synchronously. So make sure when you meet them online, say Microsoft Teams, WebEx, just make sure you just make sure that your students have something for you, okay, and also built from that, you can actually create a discussion. Okay, so I think this is after class. Okay. So again, we have reflection. Are we there yet?
Yeah.
Round robin reflection. Um, so here I would like to introduce. I'm not sure whether you know this. Okay. I know that most of you are using Google Docs. Okay. But the best thing is we have another extension. Okay, by Chrome. It's called Mode. Or Mode. Yeah. Okay. So sometimes you want to put out your voice out there, not just words. Okay. So mode, if you install this or if you put it as an extension, sorry, you can record your voice up to 90 seconds. Yeah, so it's really interesting and it can be embedded. And again, we know Google Docs are very much collaborative. Okay, so I think that would be all for me. So I'll pass the whistle, Mike.
Okay. Thank you so much, Azeelia. So we have it's already 4 p.m. And okay, so just a question to the participants out there. You can actually see an example of how Puan Azeelia has actually structured her lessons using the framework that we discussed. So before class, you have the activation and then the demonstration and then the application. So it's very comprehensive. She's also, I'm very amazed, and believe it or not, the workshop, only the first workshop was held face-to-face at Polytechnic Nilai, and the subsequent workshops for this cohort was actually done online on Microsoft Teams. So through constant feedback, the team actually came up with incredible lesson plans like this. All I gave them was a template and guided them with the framework, and they have come up with this. So I would like to ask the participants, what is your key takeaway from this session? Please reply on chat, while I'll get Puan Adilah to actually maybe sum up her what do you call her lesson plan. Puan Adilah, mungkin ada masa 5 minit sahaja, tapi mungkin boleh tak Puan Adilah berkongsi, sebab anda menggunakan template yang sama, tapi mungkin boleh summarizekan, ya, simpulkan pendekatan yang diambil apabila membuat lesson plan ini. Apa yang benda-benda yang anda fikirkan sebelum anda plan tu? Mungkin Puan Adilah boleh berkongsi?
Okey, terima kasih Dr. Umar. Okey, saya akan pergi secepatnya. Okey, macam yang dibincangkan, ada 3 fasa, sebelum, semasa dan juga selepas. Apa yang bermain di fikiran saya yang pada dasarnya adalah bagaimana untuk melinkkan, untuk mengikat ketiga-tiga fasa tersebut agar pelajar dia tak lost. Okay. Kita tengok pada skrin sebelum kelas, untuk fasa activation saya letakkan beberapa link artikel daripada akhbar dan minta pelajar, sebelum tu ini tu subjek MPU 23052, Sains, Teknologi dan Kejuruteraan dan Islam untuk pelajar mechanical dan electrical. Okay. Next.
So aplikasi yang sama di mana sebelum kelas merupakan the lower levels of Bloom taxonomy dan semasa kelas ialah the higher level of Bloom's taxonomy. Okay?
Ya.
Boleh Puan Adilah?
Okay. Okay, saya terus
Ya.
Okay. Untuk sebelum kelas, saya letakkan beberapa artikel, 5 artikel yang berkaitan dengan 5 kaedah fiqh yang dan di mana setiap artikel tersebut pelajar saya minta untuk dia mengeluarkan pendapat berkaitan dengan apakah hukum berkaitan dengan setiap perkara yang dibincangkan tersebut. Secara brief sajalah. Dan dan nextnya untuk demonstration, tengok saya letakkan satu link video daripada YouTube. Dan pelajar perlu pelajar menonton video kemudian melengkapkan draft mind map yang diletakkan dalam Padlet. Padlet inilah yang hasil daripada Padlet ini yang digunakan sebagai key untuk dibawa semasa kelas. Okey. Dan yang terakhirnya waktu aplikasi hanya untuk wrap apa yang berlaku sebelum kelas, membuat soalan dalam quiz atau apa-apa sahaja gamification yang bersesuaian lah. Okay, next. Next saya pergi ke semasa kelas. Okay, semasa kelas bermula, kalau tengok di fasa activation, saya pakai kembali Padlet jawapan yang pelajar dah jawab tersebut. Itu adalah key atau poin-poin utama bagaimana kita nak mengikat pelajar agar pelajar buat kerja sebelum masuk kelas. Jadi dia masuk kelas dia tak blank. Jadi kita dah ada jawapan pelajar dan kita akan bincangkan jawapan tersebut dalam fasa activation.
So maksudnya bagaimana kita nak memastikan pelajar datang bersedia sebelum kelas tu, kita boleh masukkan
dan juga Microsoft Teams. Yang mana puzzle ni saya letakkan beberapa, ada 5 video yang mana kesemuanya adalah di bawah 1 minit ataupun 2 minit dan diedit menggunakan add puzzle dan di-embed, letakkan soalan dalam tu yang mana pelajar tak boleh skip video tersebut, kena jawab, bermakna mereka tak boleh skip dan kena faham dan kena jawab dalam video tersebut. Soalan dalam video tersebut. Ini boleh diedit menggunakan add puzzle lah. Add puzzle ni satu tool yang sangat menarik untuk digunakan sebab dia memaksa pelajar untuk menghabiskan video tersebut. Okay, next. Application. Di application daripada video tersebut yang pelajar dah tengok, saya meletakkan untuk pelajar membuat satu mind map yang interaktif, yang satu bentuk mind map menggunakan Canva ataupun pictochart ataupun apa-apa sajalah yang bentuk dalam infografik yang menarik kesimpulan atau pemahaman mereka terhadap topik yang dibincangkan. Dan terakhir untuk reflection ni after class, ini sangat simple, sangat mudah yang mana kita menggunakan group WhatsApp kelas dan minta pelajar menggunakan aplikasi yang free atau voice note yang berada dalam WhatsApp tersebut. Just minta pelajar untuk memberi konklusi apakah pemahaman mereka terhadap topik yang dibincangkan. Jadi bila kita ada ketiga-tiga perancangan semasa, sebelum dan selepas kelas, kita dapat tengok macam adakah pelajar ni mereka ni ikut faham kita ataupun kita syok sendiri. Kita boleh nampak di akhirnya dalam sesi refleksi ni lah.
Okay, so maksudnya mereka boleh menghubung kaitkan antara apa yang berlaku sebelum kelas, semasa kelas dengan dan mereka buat refleksi. Okay, alright. Oh, okay, so itu sahaja untuk perkongsian. Terima kasih. So saya harap anda semua participants telah dapat melihat aplikasi framework ya, di mana bila kita plan kita punya online flip lesson tu, gunakan fasa activation, demonstration dan application. Okay, so gunakan tool. So tak bermakna kalau kita gunakan banyak tools, tapi kita perlukan guna tools yang tepat ya. Try to get the free version dan kena tepat, kena-kenalah pada situasi dia. It's not about using as many tools as you can, but using the tools with a purpose. Okay, so let's have a look at the chat questions. Okay, let's go back to chat and let's just answer a few pressing questions. Okay, so they're telling the template is doable. The key of this lesson plan is to have both practical and theory learning objectives separately done. Okay, so that it can be planned better sebab kita di TVET. So TVET kita ada komponen teknik, komponen hands-on dan juga komponen theory. So bagaimana kita susun learning objectives tersebut. Okay, this session has exposed me to an amazing world of teaching digitally. I will surely try it. Okay, thank you. Types of apps that can link during online session. I love how the lesson plan structure helps to sequence the content in a way create a flow of the lesson. It helps a lot when you can't meet your students. Okay, terima kasih. So, ini bermakna, how kita boleh, of course, perancangan ni mengambil masa. Tetapi yang lebih penting lah macam mana kita sequencekan dari simple ke lebih complex. Okay, detailed planning on online teaching is crucial to ensure the effectiveness of the lesson. All right, so I think that's the time. We're already running out of time. Thank you so much, Puan Azeelia and Puan Adilah, joining us all the way from Polytechnic Ibrahim Sultan. I hope you all have really enjoyed this session, and I hope it has opened your mind on how to become a better educator, especially online. Okay, so thank you, everyone. Appreciate you being here. Thank you and have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow. The first slot starts at 10 a.m. The first slot would be on CDOS fundamentals, followed by the big blue button feature, and synchronous and asynchronous learning using WebEx. Okay, so tomorrow's theme would be on the LMS and how we're gonna conduct live teaching on CDOS. All right. So thank you again. I hope you all had a fantastic webinar for the past 2 days. Looking forward to seeing you all tomorrow. Thank you.